Hey, everybody. This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. For those who haven't heard, the AI Safety Summit is happening today. So you may be asking, what is the summit about? Well, the summit is centered around frontier AI, which is defined as highly capable foundation models that could possess dangerous capabilities sufficient to pose severe risks to public safety. Now, you may also ask, who's participating in this safety summit? Well, for starters, our wonderful VP, Cackling Kamala, will be there in attendance. We also have China's Vice Technology Minister. Where it raises red flags for me is seeing the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen attending, as well as the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Then we have the Italian Prime Minister, who, assuming, is representing the G7. Now, about 100 people will attend, and the full guest list has not been made public. But assuming the major tech companies will be in attendance, you'll have Google, Microsoft, Cisco, Facebook, or Meta, as they call it. The one redeeming factor that I see in attendees is Elon Musk having a discussion with Rishi Sunak being live streamed on X. Now, topics that will be discussed will be the risks that they see AI posing, as well as some mitigation strategies that could be implemented, as well as discussion around regulation and how much should the government be involved in regulating this advanced technology. This all sounds well and dandy. However, I have concerns because the people that are attending and pushing this international framework and come together are all members of the WEF. And what makes it even more alarming to me is King Charles's address. We should all be concerned because the language that he is using is directly aligned with the World Economic Forum. Now, I'm not going to play this speech. I'm going to read out the speech to you because I want to avoid copyright channel, but it's worth noting that this channel is being run by the royal household. After I read the speech, I think you'll understand why. King Charles's speech begins. We are witnessing one of the greatest technological leaps in the history of human endeavor. The rapid rise of powerful artificial intelligence is considered by many of the greatest thinkers of our age to be no less significant, no less important than the discovery of electricity. The splitting of the atom, the creation of the World Wide Web, or even the harnessing of fire. AI holds the potential to completely transform life as we know it, to help us better treat and perhaps even cure conditions like cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, to hasten our journey towards net zero, and realize a new era of potentially limitless, clean, green energy. However, if we are to realize the untold benefits of AI, then we must work together on combating its significant risks, too. Here's where Charles gets a little too weffy for my taste. AI continues to advance with ever greater speed towards models that some predict could surpass human abilities, even human understanding. There is a clear imperative to ensure that this rapidly evolving technology remains safe and secure, and because AI does not respect international boundaries, this mission demands international coordination and collaboration to support this global effort. The United Kingdom is proud to host this summit in Bletchley Park, the birthplace of modern computing, where Alan Turing famously cracked back the Enigma code and laid the foundations for a new digital age. Now, here's where I find that this is flowery marketing language. Now, this next part does rub me the wrong way. Transitions like the one AI is heralding always presents profound challenges, especially in preparing for unintended consequences. It is incumbent on those with responsibility to meet these challenges to protect people's privacy and livelihoods, which are essential to both our economic and psychological well-being, to secure our democracies from harm, and to ensure the benefits of new technology are shared by all. And the reason why this rubs me the wrong way is because 1, King Charles does not own a cell phone. 2, King Charles does not email. 3, King Charles is not on social media. And 4, we don't even know if King Charles has a computer and gets on it to Google anything. everything that we see about King Charles and Queen Camilla is managed by an online team. It's not him necessarily getting into the weeds here and posting stuff. If King Charles was truly using the internet, then he would see the vile garbage that his not beloved daughter in law has been supporting and funding. Now, continuing on with this next part, I think it's important that Americans pay close attention. King Charles goes on to say, I've always believed in the importance of holding a conversation both within and across societies to address such great challenges of bringing governments in the public sector together with civil society and the private sector in that conversation, adhering to the value tenets of faith and laws that we all held so dear. That is how the international community has sought to tackle climate change, to light a path to net zero and safeguard the future of our planet. We must similarly address the risks presented by AI with a sense of urgency, unity, and collective strength. How do you guys feel about hearing King Charles saying that collectively, government intervention with private companies need to work together? This is the message that is being communicated at the top with the globalists at the WEF. I personally don't feel that this was appropriate because of the fact he doesn't use technology, so he has no business to be talking on it. Secondly, to encourage the international community as if he's some head of state in charge of all of us, including the United States, has me gravely concerned because of the UK influence in the United States in pushing policy and regulation. It's not only just his son that's here trying to undermine our Constitution, there's also other organizations that are being backed by the UK in order to drive this censorship initiative. Now, I'm not disputing that there needs a framework and a construct in place to protect people with this AI, because if it falls in the wrong hands, it can prove to be very dangerous. I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is that those that are championing for putting this framework and construct into place are the very same people that have been trying to take away more and more from the regular folk like you and I. We have here in the United States probably the most corrupt government that I've ever seen in my lifetime, and they are the ones trying to get a handle on AI. Like, what does cackling Kamala know about AI technology? Let's not forget that currently the government is being sued for trying to impose themselves to censor free speech online of American citizens. These laws that are being passed all around in the Western countries is not by accident. And for those that are going to come at me and tell me that, oh, King Charles doesn't have any power, then open your eyes. Please open your eyes, because he is getting involved in areas that I think he has no business to be speaking about, in my personal opinion. He knows what is going on. Whether it be he understands the extent of it, that's anyone's guess, but he signed that online safety bill. Don't tell me that he just signed it just because it's business as usual. If he so cares about democracy, then he would understand what this bill meant. And if it is pushing this, oh, it's for the children, what about all those children that are being trafficked right now? None of these folks at the top are addressing that. They're all turning a blind eye on it. So we're going to talk about safety for AI. These are the last people that should be talking about safety when they are responsible for so much damage in this world, all for greed and power. And as long as Harry and Meghan are on that website stating that they're continuing to honor their duty to the king, then I hold him responsible for the actions of what him and his nitwit wife are doing here to undermine our civil liberties. Some accountability really needs to be taken. Folks, it's not an accident that Harry is still working with many UK organizations and people. Let's not forget, Beth Hurley's still on his staff. James Holt is still on his staff. Now, I get it. You're all going to tell me, oh, yeah, they left the royal family. But hear me out. They are still from the UK. The organizations that Harry is specifically aligned with and working with are from the UK. For those that haven't seen the series that I did breaking down Harry's involvement with the censorship industrial complex, I beg you, please take the time to watch it. If King Charles's speech right here, right now, doesn't convince you that there is a global initiative to control the digital space, The United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, these three bodies are NGOs. They are not government elected bodies that we don't have to listen to. So, my question is, why are these heads of state pushing this upon the people? The only answer that I have is for the power, greed, and control. And the monarchy is very much a part of it. Let me ask my viewers this question. This online safety bill that was recently just passed and adopted and now have become law, how many of you knew this bill was passing through and the dangers of what that document entailed for the privacy of the citizens of the UK, as well as censorship? And being that I'm American, I hadn't been paying attention too closely to other countries' laws around censorship. I mean, we started to hear grumblings about what Canada was doing and then seeing what New Zealand was trying to pull. I predominantly had been focusing on what has been happening here in the United States, especially with the dumb prince in trying to undermine our Constitution. I wasn't paying attention to what the UK was trying to get away with. And sure enough, after the distraction of Russell Brand, we learn and discover that this bill was in its final stages and approved very quietly. Was that intentional? Was Russell Brand used as a distraction? I don't know. Leave your thoughts on that one below. But what it's telling me is that we need to pay attention a little bit more, especially with what's happening now in the United States with the certain bills that have been introduced by certain people, and recognize it's the very same forces that Harry and Meghan have been aligned with that have affected getting that bill passed in the UK and have now been trying to do the same thing here in the United States. Harry and Meghan are very much a part of what is going on globally with censorship. What upsets me about this censorship movement that Harry and Meghan are a part of is they are set on penalizing people for merely just expressing opinions that they don't like and deem hate. Like they are the arbiters of truth, the two that have lied, and they want to take food out of people's mouths because they don't like what you have to say. And it does fall on the reflection of King Charles, because if Harry is supporting the king overseas and in the UK, then that means that he is supportive of taking food out of people's mouths. I mean, he signed that bill that was sponsored by Caroline Dinenage, who had the audacity to write to the individual tech platforms asking to strip away Russell Brand's livelihood and ability to earn so he can feed his family. You have a king who has endorsed and signed and gave the royal assent. And yes, if it's business as usual, then I think that that's just reckless. But now you've given powers to an entity called Ofcom that clearly will abuse this power that they have. In fact, they've already started to abuse it. With what we saw with GB News, there's no doubt in my mind that Ofcom was involved in getting Dan Wooten and Lawrence Fox and Calvin off the air, all because they don't want to be fined by this entity for pushing so-called hate, all because that woman felt offended. And no doubt it's all political, who are pushing a liberal, progressive, Marxist, to even some point communistic agenda, being masked as democracy. This very same agenda that Harry and Meghan are a part of, and in my opinion, supported by the king because of the royal website. And if you're not convinced that this is a highly coordinated global campaign to get legislation into place, let me show you something. When this bill was so quietly being passed through, UK Parliament brought in a few witnesses that I think you might find familiar. For this bill, Parliament called various questionable witnesses. And we're going to start with Mr. Imran Ahmed. As you can see, he showed up on September 9th to give his testimony around why this bill must be passed through. Now, for those that don't know who Imran Ahmed is, he is the CEO of the CCDH, and currently right now Elon Musk is suing him. Also, he had caused a bit of a stir with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. by putting him on a blacklist. Let's put it this way. This guy is the UK version of Christopher Boozy. He's another con artist that supports the Labour Party in the UK as well as the Democratic Party here in the United States in trying to suppress conservative or unfavored speech with his fugazi reports that get pushed out by all these mainstream media outlets. Also, he's a big advocate of penalizing people for unfavored speech. Now, one of the core campaigns that the CCDH had and is still ongoing is this Stop Hate for Profit, in which Harry and Meghan are very much a part of and have been open about being a part of it. And again, taking food out of people's mouths because they don't like the opinions that you're expressing. So, Mr. Ahmed is receiving money from our government, in which the Judiciary Committee here in the United States have subpoenaed him to hand over all documents related to funds being received by U.S. taxpayers because he has set up shop here as a nonprofit entity. To show you how serious this is, the U.S. government had subpoenaed Mr. Ahmed to turn over all documents and communication with our federal government, which includes any kind of funding that the taxpayer had so generously given this organization. Our Judiciary Committee had to subpoena this guy in order to get him to comply to turn over this information. And at this time, it hasn't been turned over yet, as far as I know. It's going to be very interesting to see what this guy submits, because I believe this is going to expose a hell of a lot. Keep in mind, folks, this guy was a big advocate of this online safety bill and played a role in getting this bill passed through with his recommendations and witness statement, as seen here on your Parliament website. Another name that should raise a few eyebrows in contributing towards supporting and getting this online safety bill passed through is Nina Jankowicz.
Censoring is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So yes, information's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
Yes, that was the same Nina Jankowicz who in April of 2022 was selected to head the newly formed Disinformation Governance Board of the United States Department of Homeland Security. I need not say any more. This Disinformation Board, as well as Nina herself, faced a tremendous amount of backlash for pushing misinformation herself surrounding the Hunter Biden laptop. As a result of this pushback, the following month, DHS disbanded this organization and Nina resigned the following day. So where is she now? This village idiot, as of September 2022, announced the launch of Hypatia Project, which she conducts at the UK-based Center for Information Resilience. Now, why is this woman going to the UK? Let's not forget that she was a part of getting this UK online safety bill passed through. Let it be known that she's registered as a foreign agent, so one should wonder if she's working as an undercover operative for the United States. Now, with this bill that has passed, there is a loophole in order to invade privacy. Another name that should be very familiar to everyone by now, if you've been watching my videos, is Renee DiResta. Now, she gave witness statement in Parliament about why this online safety bill should happen and advocating for access or researchers to have access to information, all in the name of advancements, but more of trying to get around people's privacy, which in some respects, this bill does succeed at finding a loophole in order to invade and get intelligence on people legally. I mean, how could we forget her participation with Prince Harry and the Aspen Institute, as well as now being sued in a few lawsuits for violating American First Amendment rights? Another eye opener that I found in this process of getting this bill passed through was Five Rights Foundation being a part of this and recommending the framework for Ofcom. Now, for those that don't recall who Five Rights Foundation is, this is another organization that Meghan and Harry have partnered and aligned with. Feel free to pause this if you want to read what the recommendations they made back when this bill was going through and being considered. This UK-based organization is here in the United States advocating for the new California bill that was passed, in which Archwell and Five Rights Foundation had attached themselves to a lawsuit defending California and the legislation to implement these censorship data collection laws that's now been put in place and being challenged by NetChoice. Now, I've showed that to you, but there is a lawsuit out there that Archwell and Five Rights Foundation have now attached themselves to in order to help defend keeping this legislation in place. Now, these are just a few names that I've thrown out here to show you the connection between Meghan and Harry and their alignment with this global initiative to push regulation and clamp down and control the internet, as well as suppress free speech. If you guys want to, I'm sure there's more names out there that you will find that are part of this initiative to push this disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda. What we've seen Meghan and Harry get away with in the media and no consequence happened to them just shows me that they have backing by these forces. And that's concerning. So when we see that this safety summit is being conducted today, on the surface, I think it's an excellent idea. But deep down inside, the people that are running the show on this, I think are dangerous because these are the very same people that are the ones who are at fault for harming the world. This 2030 agenda being supported by these globalists, including King Charles, to me is frightening. And we've seen a lot of disaster coming our way as a result of these folks forcing this onto the people. And the most insane thing about all of this is that the people in power are using taxpayer money to fund these crises. We've got billions of dollars going to a war in Ukraine, but nobody can keep account as to where the money is going and how it's being used. We also have this migrant crisis where we have arms wide open here in the United States, welcoming 6 million undocumented people. And ever since BlackRock, the company that says that they force behaviors in driving what those trends are, shifted its focus from equality and sustainability, DEI principles because of the backlash they received and losing so much money, you've seen the area of focus shift now to everything being about climate change. Anyhow, it's going to be interesting to see the outcome of this summit and read about what Elon Musk says, because at this point, from the list of attendees that I read off, he's the only one that I actually believe does see something fundamentally wrong, hence the reason why he bought Twitter and exposed how the US government had been involved in interfering with people's freedom of speech. As a result, we are now seeing the consequences to the suppression of speech, particularly around the Hunter Biden laptop, COVID vaccines, election integrity, and the folks that are involved, currently right now in these lawsuits who have suppressed Americans and violated their constitutional rights. This is a very serious thing, and Prince Harry was very much a part of it. And for King Charles not to condemn his son's involvement here in undermining the Constitution speaks volumes for me. Hence the reason why I'm so vocal on this topic. Anyhow, that's my opinion. Many of you most likely will come back to me and say, well, King Charles doesn't have any power or influence. I politely beg to differ with all of you on that one. But let me know what you think about this. Definitely leave your thoughts below. And as always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.